Every year, it's the same story over and over again. Some kid from nowhere state outperforms the highly touted kid from everywhere state. And it's unfortunate that time and time again, the underdog gets doubted as if their football isn't real, like they don't use the same type of equipment, like Division II yards are different from SEC yards, like my blood, sweat, and tears that I poured into this game doesn't count. But that's okay. Keep sleeping, keep underestimating, because with every swing of this chip on my shoulder, I don't get tired, I just get stronger, and sooner or later, this person without a household name will soon have household fame, and it's just a matter of time. And then people will say, man, there's so many sleepers in this draft class, when in all actuality, I'm not a sleeper, I've been here the whole time, you just wasn't paying attention. Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you a 2014 NFL Draft Special. We're taking a look at my March mock draft, and the unique part about this March mock draft is that it will only feature small school prospects. That's prospects from the FCS level, Division II, Division III, and also the NAIA level. So let's get this video kicked off by taking a look at my mock draft rules. So here are my mock draft rules. First of all, this is a pre-free agency current roster as of March 7th, which is today, type of a mock. Doesn't include all of the free agent moves or pending moves, just guys that are not on the roster right now, and I'm basing my picks off of that. And the picks are based off what I would do as GM. I'm not trying to project, and they also reflect my rankings of the prospects that are in my prospect rankings. And remember, fourth and foremost, it's a mock draft. Calm down, it's not that serious. And let's start this video off with number 1 overall selection, the Houston Texans. Helping the Texans solve their quarterback problems, I'm giving them Jeff Matthews out of Cornell. The Ivy League gunslinger can make every throw on the football field and will help the Texans push their passing game more vertically down the field. Matthews graded out as a second rounder and my number 3 overall quarterback prospect in this year's draft class. The Rams own 2 selections in round 1, and with the first one I have them helping their offensive line with Billy Turner out of North Dakota State, who in my opinion can play guard and both tackle positions, giving the Rams much needed versatility up front along their offensive line. The Jags desperately need a quarterback, so Jimmy Garoppolo out of Eastern Illinois makes a lot of sense right here. I don't care how small his hands are. He threw for over 13,000 yards and 151 touchdowns in his collegiate career. I think he'll be just fine. The Browns are another team with 2 first-round picks and also a need at quarterback, and Southern's Dre Joseph is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country. He plays extremely well from the neck up and how he sees the field with enough touch and arm to make any type of throw short, intermediate, or deep down the field with tremendous accuracy. I don't think Terrell Pryor is a problem out there in Oakland. The lack of weapons are, however, which is why I'm adding talent on the outside with Jeremy Butler out of UT Martin, who reminds me a lot of Greg Jennings, a polished route runner with dependable hands that can play on the outside or in the slot. The Raiders have to continue to build around a young dynamic quarterback with young dynamic playmakers. Matt Ryan will be smiling ear to ear with a guy like Dakota Doja out of Furman, who played left tackle for the Paladins, but will be better suited on the inside at guard because of his athleticism and the strength at the point of attack. And once that Falcons offensive line gets a lot better, that Falcons offense will look a lot better, and they'll find themselves back in the thick of the NFC South race. One of the most explosive linebackers in the country, regardless of division, is Carlos Fields, a 2-time Division II All-American and a 2-time CIAA Defensive Player of the Year. Fields can play on the inside as well as on the outside, giving Lovie Smith tremendous flexibility for his defense. Jesse Dixon out of Lamar played all across the Cardinals' defensive front and even showing the athleticism to play in space. New head coach Mike Zimmer will love a dynamic and disruptive player like Dixon playing in his front 7. Adding young weapons around a young quarterback is the best way to get the most return on your investment, and AC Leonard out of Tennessee State gives second-year quarterback E.J. Manuel a security blanket that can not only control the middle of the field, but one that can also be moved around a formation, giving the Bills' offense all types of potential matchup mismatches. I'm a big fan of Jack Morrow out of St. Cloud State, 5'11", 200 pounds, who plays a lot like Earl Thomas of the Seattle Seahawks. You can match him up versus wide receivers in the slot and on the outside, and he possesses elite level ball skills and instincts that makes him valuable in the center field because he can eliminate mistakes. The Titans have to move on from Jake Locker, and Dustin Vaughn gives them exactly what they need, a quarterback that protects the football but also isn't afraid to take calculated risks downfield, as evident by his remarkable career at West Texas A&M. The Giants' offensive line, more in particular the interior, was in shambles all last season, so I think Kadeem Edwards out of Tennessee State will be an instant upgrade for not only the passing game's sake, but also the running game, as he excels on both ends. With their second first-round selection, I have the Rams taking free safety Dexter Moody out of Albany State, a tremendous athlete who also plays on the baseball team for Albany State. Tremendous sideline-to-sideline range with excellent length to make a play on the ball, and a Moody McDonald secondary who will be one that offenses would hate to go against each and every game. There's a huge hole on the Bears' defensive line, and Zach Kerr out of Delaware is a big-time player with enough talent to fill it. At 330 pounds, Kerr has the girth to play on the nose and also the shade, but he also has a quickness of a 3 technique, so he can excel anywhere along the defensive interior at any position. A youth movement is needed in the Steelers secondary, and Pierre Desir at 6'2", 200 pounds has the size to play aggressive and press man and the football IQ and instincts to play in zone, making him one of the most coveted defensive backs in this year's draft class. I'm also a big fan of Karan Reed out of Princeton. He's another one of these players that played many different positions up front in college, and I was also able to see him stand out all week long in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. He'll give the Cowboys much needed help on the inside. I'm going with added depth and talent in the secondary over wide receiver with cornerback Marcus Williams out of North Dakota State, who excels in man-to-man coverage and who not only has a knack for getting interceptions, but also has a knack for taking them back to the house for 6. The Jets need playmakers at every skill position, so grabbing a player the caliber of Jeff Janis out of Saginaw Valley State, who has great acceleration and excellent hands that can power his way through routes at times, is definitely a step in the right direction for that Jets offense. It goes without saying that the Dolphins need help along that offensive line, and Matt Hall at 6'10", 330 pounds can do an excellent job in keeping front side pressure out of the face of quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Tempted to go with the quarterback here, but I'd added versatility to that Cardinals defense with Tyler Starr out of South Dakota, who tore it up all season, and also in the East-West Shrine game. Starr has more than enough athleticism and length to play on the outside or inside in sub packages. I believe the Packers could use an upgrade over A.J. Hawk on the inside in addition to free safety help, but Keaton Stigger out of Henderson State is your classic in-the-box thumper with athleticism to play in space. He even doubled as the Reddies' goal line and short yardage back and scored 14 touchdowns this season, so hey, maybe even he can replace Kuhn out there in the backfield. Versatility on the back end is where I'm helping the Philadelphia Eagles, and I like Earl Wolf, so adding Keith Lewis, who can play corner as well as safety, gives them tremendous flexibility in not only their base defense, but also their nickel defense as well. John Brown out of Pittsburgh State is one of the most dangerous players with the ball in his hands and would add much needed explosiveness to that Chiefs passing game. And don't let the size fool you. Brown has more than enough skills to play outside the numbers. I feel the Bengals have to get more athletic in the secondary with an aging Terrence Newman and Leon Hall, who has battled some injuries throughout the course of his career, so grabbing the dynamic Brandon Dixon out of Northwest Missouri State kills two birds with one stone because of the fact that he's extremely athletic and has the ball skills that you want coming out of that position. Looking at the Chargers' defensive line, I see some areas for opportunity, and Ashland's Jamie Meter was a consensus Division II All-American and a constant nuisance each and every week for opposing offenses. A stout player that can play the nose or the 5 technique, so he can definitely play in that Chargers 3-4 defense. The Browns are back on the clock and finally get a running back that they can hang their hat on in Terrence Cobb out of the Cumberlands, who reminds me a lot of Frank Gore in the fact that he's a complete back that can run, catch the football out of the backfield, and is a very good player in pass protection. The Saints have to add depth and versatility in the back end of their defense, and I think Brian Dixon, the brother of Brandon Dixon out of Northwest Missouri State, is a much better player in space, and I think he would be an ideal fit in that Saints 4-2-5 defense. Putting him on the field with his ball skills and instincts is a win for defensive coordinator Rob Ryan. Finally, the Panthers are adding talent around Cam Newton and continues to build that offense. And Taylor Gabriel out of Abilene Christian is a guy at 5'8", 180 pounds. Don't let the size fool you. He can play outside the hashes, outside the numbers. He can also help you out as a returner because he has the explosiveness and the quicks in and out of his break. He could definitely be a tremendous playmaker for that Panthers offensive attack. Bill Belichick loves defensive linemen that have versatility, so when you look at Terrence Fede out of Marist, he provides that instantly with his ability to play the 1, the 5, even the 7 tech if need be. Doesn't have the quickness to consistently play that position, but if you put him on the inside and get creative, I think he could be a tremendous player at the next level. One of the most versatile defensive backs in this draft class is Deron Furr out of Fort Valley State, a guy that transferred down from Memphis where he played linebacker and also played linebacker at times for Fort Valley State, but he's definitely a strong safety with the athleticism you see here to line up anywhere along that defense and definitely has the range sideline to sideline. With the Broncos moving on from Champ Bailey, getting Walt Aikens here at 31 makes a lot of sense. Aikens, in my opinion, has the most upside of any defensive back in this year's draft class. His technique is a little raw, but the physical tools are right where they need to be for him to be able to compete year one. The Super Bowl champ Seattle Seahawks beef up their offensive line with Canadian prospect Laurent Duvernay-Tardif out of McGill, who displayed the skills down at the East-West Shrine game, showing everyone why he's high on the radar of both CFL as well as NFL football teams. Moving into the second round with the Redskins getting help for RG3 with wide receiver Lee Doss out of Southern. He's a silky smooth route runner with stick-em for hands that isn't afraid of going across the middle and sacrificing his body just to make the catch. And finally, the Colts go with versatility in their beleaguered secondary with Elijah Lee out of Charleston Southern, an FCS program who can play either corner or safety, outside or in the slot versus wide receivers or tight ends. He also brings the added benefit of being a terrific blitzer coming off the edge.